Hello, everyone. Welcome back to In the Art Podcast with your hosts, Collin and Braeden Cox. And in this segment, we're going to be discussing Jalen Hurts' new contract. So as many of you have probably already heard, Jalen Hurts got his bag. Braeden, you want to give me the numbers on it real quick?
Yeah, off the top of my head, 5-year, $255 million contract. But only half the money is guaranteed. So to me, it's a very smart deal. And I think he gets $110 million at signing, because they're going to prorate it over the 5 years. So to me, it's a really smart contract, but.
Right. So I think it's the most guaranteed money in ever, right?
Yeah.
Just
absolutely.
past Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
Over there. So as you know, Braeden, like we said previously, the quarterback market is absolutely skyrocketing, right?
Yep.
So I wonder if this has to do with, Daniel Jones getting as much as he did, and then Jalen Hurts as well. If Daniel Jones is making that much money and we beat him 35-0 or whatever it was in that second round of the playoffs, something to do with that. I think overall, I'm glad Jalen Hurts got his bag. I think he definitely deserves it. Brought the Eagles to the Super Bowl, as we all know. But I think it's just, this is what I really want to get into in the segment, is just the QB market overall, and especially after Jalen Hurts' big signing, because we all are seeing it with Daniel Jones. Saw Derek Carr get a good amount, Jimmy G. And then obviously there's still guys like Lamar and Aaron Rodgers who, are still iffy about
pending contracts or trades or whatever is going to happen. Yeah.
Right. So Braeden, I just think when I think of just Jalen Hurts' contract, I just think how it's going to affect the rest of the league. I feel like, with each big QB contract, it's just going to get higher and higher, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be interesting what players we'll talk about Lamar. We'll talk about Rodgers, right? I'm very interested to see what players like Joe Burrow and what a Justin Herbert is going to get, because Jalen Hurts still had a year left on his contract and he could have been tagged. The Eagles got this done, right? This is the complete opposite of the Lamar deal, and we can get into Lamar. But I don't know how many more years. Is this Burrow's last year on his contract coming? Or is he got?
This is his last year, but they keep saying there's going to be an extension soon, so.
Sure, yeah. But look at, this is the huge difference with Lamar, is these players, Burrow probably, Herbert I'd assume, and now Jalen Hurts, they're getting deals locked up before their contract even expires. Right? Before the ink dries on the contract, they're getting locked up. I'm really interested to see, because, with that kind of guaranteed money, $179 million guaranteed over the 5 years, and all that money even up front.
Right.
It's going to be interesting. Again, they're going to prorate it over the 5 years, which to me makes it a smart deal. Not I wouldn't say it to the same level of the Mahomes deal, just because Mahomes is spectacular, but I still think at the end of the day, if Hurts can replicate even, to some extent what he did this past season, it's going to work out well for Philadelphia. You did say, though, that he absolutely 100%. Would you say he 100% deserves this money? Because that's what I kind of question is, he had a good year the year prior, lost in the playoffs to Tampa Bay. Fair enough. This year brings him to the Super Bowl. Was he, is he, a $179 million guaranteed quarterback? That's what kind of surprised me about this, is not the actual contract, because it's the market, but, wow, that's a lot of money for somebody who's really had one spectacular season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was going to be my next point, is we're seeing a lot of very high guaranteed money now. Yeah. Again, like we mentioned in previous episodes, Deshaun Watson kind of set the tone for all of that. $179 million guaranteed is a lot of money, like you said. Do I think Jalen Hurts is worth that much? Do I think anyone in the league besides Mahomes is worth that much? No.
Exactly. I'm the same exactly.
The quarterback market right now is just unbelievably high. So I think teams are just gonna have to spend
To
the
bite
money
the
on
bullet.
their QBs. especially
They're
if
going to have to bite the bullet.
because
if they
Jalen
want
Hurts
their
is
guy.
definitely a franchise QB, and you don't want to risk him leaving somewhere else because franchise QBs don't come very often. So that's why all these teams are throwing all this money at quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Good for Hurts here because what he did this year, with the market, it's a no-brainer. And I think it's a good deal even for the Philadelphia Eagles at the end of the day. 5 years from now, like I said, if he can even replicate to some extent what he did this year, it's going to pay dividends in the long run. But I don't know, I kind of want to shift the conversation, and we can keep talking about Lamar, right? But this has, this will have a big precedence on Lamar Jackson, right? Because, like I said, Jalen Hurts got this contract a year before his contract was even going to expire, and he could have been tagged. So, theoretically, he could have been... They didn't have to give him a contract for, 3 seasons, right?
Right.
But they got it done now, right? Am I right on that?
So, I think Jalen Hurts is... What year was he drafted? 20... He was drafted, I think, 2019.
I think so,
this
too,
was his extension year.
Yeah.
So, I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure he was drafted. He was the class before Tua and Joe and Justin Herbert.
I know he had one more year. I'm pretty sure he had one more year on his contract.
Yeah.
One more full year, right? But where I'm going with this is, what's the difference here? Because people talk about, Jalen and Lamar, they kind of play similar. Obviously Lamar, unanimous MVP. Jalen just brought him to the Super Bowl. What's the big difference here between Jalen and Lamar, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the big difference is Jalen Hurts is made to a Super Bowl, right? And he stays on the field.
Yes, but 100%. But if we're talking specifically for contract purposes, right? What's the difference between Jalen Hurts, who just got paid the most guaranteed money in NFL history after having really only one legitimately spectacular season, right? And Lamar Jackson, who won a unanimous MVP in 2019. What's the big difference here? Contract-wise is Lamar, no agent. Jalen Hurts, Clutch Sports.
For some reason, I couldn't tell where you're going with that. I was like, where's he going with this? And then, all right, yeah, keep going.
Jalen Hurts has another... He has a whole nother year on his contract, and he got it done, right? Where are they getting this deal done? They're getting it done at the Combine and all these meetings where the agents are allowed in, and they're basically negotiating for their players. That's why this deal got done. That's why Jalen Hurts is getting the most guaranteed money in NFL history at a quarterback, right?
Right.
What about Lamar? You could argue that Lamar might be better than Jalen. Then what's the problem here, right? The problem is, and a lot of respect, his mom and him kind of had this pact where they were like, no, we're going to do it our way. Fair enough, right? But look what's happening, right? Nobody really wants, you can't really trust him because of the injuries. All players are going to get injured, right? But he doesn't really have anybody negotiating for him besides himself. Mm-hmm. Which is why, he wants all this guaranteed money. I don't know the exact number, the exact guaranteed money. But to me, Jalen Hurts got $179 million guaranteed. Can you give Lamar more than that? They might have to. But Jalen Hurts just brought the Eagles to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Jalen Hurts was an MVP candidate through probably 14 weeks when he got hurt.
Yeah, this was a prove a year for Jalen Hurts,
and he did
kind of similar to Aaron Judge, right?
Yeah.
Similar, and he balled out all season, and then even scored 35 points in the Super Bowl. I feel like that loss wasn't really on him, except for maybe that one fumble play, which is a fluke play. But other than that, he proved it, and then he got his bag.
Most people would argue he kind of outplayed Mahomes, right? Yeah, he had that one hiccup, and that may have teetered the game one way or another. But, he put up 35 points. At the end of the day, if you put up 35 points on the biggest stage, that should be enough for your team to win. Not many times have we seen... I go back to when New England played Philadelphia, and it was Nick Foles and Tom Brady, right? That was a very high-scoring game. The way Tom Brady played in that game, you would think that he would have won that game. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Jalen Hurts here. Besides that one fumble that was returned, which to me didn't really it didn't completely change like the elements of the game. Like it wasn't like, oh, Kansas City's going to run away with it now, because they really didn't. Like it came down to the wire.
Yeah. The thing with that play, though, I feel like the Eagles had a chance to put the Chiefs away for good, because they were dominant the whole first half.
Yeah.
So the momentum swing a little bit, but yeah, you can't say, oh, that's the reason they won or lost, because, anything could happen. And then I think I said this previously, just unfortunate that Patrick Mahomes was the quarterback on the other side of the field that day for Jalen Hurts. So
yeah, and like we talked about how spectacular of a season Jalen Hurts had, and he gets the most guaranteed money. But like, let's not forget how good that team was all year. What were we saying? Like, this is the best pass rush in the NFL. This might be the best defensive line in the NFL. This might be the best O line in the NFL, right? Like, we were saying all those things on top of Jalen Hurts being the quarterback, right? And then what happened in the Super Bowl was like he basically had to play Superman. Like he was doing everything. He was the only reason they were really in the game. The defense didn't show up. Mm-hmm. And Mahomes wasn't really even throwing. Like he was throwing to Juju and McKinnon, and Kelsey, of course. But A.J. Brown on one corner, and then you got Devontae Smith on the other. Like clearly, on paper, and we talked about this. Like the Philadelphia Eagles, should have won the game on paper, just players wise, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you just look at the rosters, but X factor Patrick Mahomes was the reason why, even though he probably outplayed him.
Right. So yeah, Bray, one more thing I wanted to get into about the Jalen Hurts contract before we wrap it up here. So obviously, Jalen Hurts gets his bag, like we just talked about, and then so what does this mean for the quarterbacks, like you said, that haven't had their contract extension year yet, like Joe Burrow, Herbert, Lawrence. So obviously, as a Bengals fan, I'm thinking, well, if Jalen Hurts brought the Eagles to the Super Bowl and lost, right? And then obviously Joe Burrow did the same thing with the Bengals last year.
The year before. Yep.
But the big difference is the Eagles won a Super Bowl, 4 or 5 years ago before that?
Yeah, I think it was 2017? I think it was almost 6 or 7 years ago.
It was the 2017-2018 season.
Okay. So 5-6 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty recent. So obviously the Eagles have still been a solid team, for that span. And then there's the Bengals, who haven't won a playoff game since 1989, obviously before Joe Burrow got there.
Yeah.
And so
before
I just can't
Joe Burrow
imagine,
was even alive.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what Joe Burrow is going to be asking for. He goes, well, Jalen Hurts brought the Eagles to the Super Bowl, but they were a solid overall team, and look how much money he's making. I literally turned this franchise around and have been putting them on my back for the past 3 seasons. Yeah. I can't imagine what Joe Burrow is going to want. He might get even more guaranteed money than Jalen.
And they almost were in the Super Bowl again.
Yeah.
They almost, a couple plays go their way. They didn't. The Chiefs were the better team that AFC Championship game at Arrowhead. But a couple plays, obviously you could say that about any game, but a couple plays go his way. He's in the Super Bowl again. And, Philadelphia, Cincinnati probably would have been my preferred Super Bowl matchup, because I thought that would have been really fun seeing Hurts and Burrow on the other side of the ball. But I think you're spot on. At this point, 179 million guaranteed and 110 at signing, right? Over 5 years, right? The question is going to be how long of a deal are they going to get Burrow? Are they going to give him a 5-year contract? Or are they thinking longer?
I'm thinking longer. I'm going 10.
You're going 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
They have to. They have no other choice.
So if you pay him 10 years, you're going to have to pay him probably what did Mahomes get? Was his 500?
I think his was $250 million for 10 years.
Oh, we'll fact check it right now. Hold up.
8 years or something. We had the math on it before. I forget what it is now.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, my point is, if Joe Burrow's...
so he got a 10-year, $450 million contract.
450, not 250.
In 2020, right? So 10 years, so he's getting paid, obviously I don't have the incentives and the guaranteed money up, but 10-year, 450, that means he's getting paid $45 million a year on average, right? Hurts is getting 5-year $255, which is $51 million, right? So that means Burrow's going to be in that ballpark. If they sign him for 10 years, it's at least $500 million. It's probably like 550.
Or they look at it and say, look, Mahomes has 2 Super Bowls, and that's why he's getting paid this much. I don't know. Hopefully we'll find out within this coming weeks. It's not a matter of it's just a matter of how much it's going to be for Joe Burrow.
I could totally see Joe Burrow being the kind of guy, and we've talked about this before, how
like Tom Brady.
Honestly, Tom Brady, the reason why he played in 10 Super Bowls and won 7 was because he was like, take this money that you were going to pay me, and obviously the QB market's completely different than it was even in like 2015, right?
Right.
You take this money, right, and get me a supporting staff so I can go and beat Mahomes in Arrowhead, right? So we can run the AFC. Because as far as I'm aware, right, and I don't know where you stand on this, going into next year, the Chiefs have to be the favorite in the AFC, right? After what Mahomes did this year, yeah, the Bengals are going to be there. Teams like the Jags, the Chargers, maybe Denver cooks something up. We don't know where Rodgers is going to go. It's them and it's the Bengals, right? Those are the two teams. And right now I can't definitively say yes, the Bengals are there. To me, I put it's the Chiefs, then the Bengals, right?
They have to, just because the Chiefs have been doing it for a little bit longer period of time. They made to 5 straight AFC Championship games.
Yeah.
Bengals have only made it to 2, and they are younger. I feel like their dynasty, or the Bengals ceiling, is kind of closing, but not quite closed yet. Same thing with the Chiefs. So I just think it's a matter, because the Chiefs had it for more consistently for a longer time. I think you would have to put them above the Bengals.
So to me, I could see Joe Burrow being the kind of guy that's like, listen, pay me 40.
Yeah, because he's going to get
40 per year
and stuff.
Forget the guaranteed money. Like, we're putting that away. Say he gets a contract that's like 8 years. I don't know, $350, something like that.
I'll take a pay cut, but you got to keep T. You got to keep Jamar. You got to get me a decent tight end, and then keep that solid defense.
That's what he should do.
What's that?
That's what he should do, right? Because they're right now, like, with how young he is, with how young that team is, you know what I mean? They could be kind of what the Chiefs have become, where like every year they go in as the favorite, right? And we haven't even talked about Buffalo. Isn't that funny how I said the teams that we're going to talk about are the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Chargers, maybe the Jags. Completely forgot about the Buffalo Bills, right?
Yeah.
So to me, it's a 2-legged race. It's Mahomes and Burrow, right? If you're smart, maybe be like, hey, like, pay me a little less. Let the endorsements speak for themselves. I'll get paid that way, right? And, do what you got to do to beat a team like the Chiefs. And that goes for across the board. You could say the same thing for Herbert, even though I think the Chargers are a few steps behind them. I mean, clearly, they went on the road. They played the Jags, a team that they probably should have beat. But a couple things, like the whole thing with Mike Williams happened. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like, to me, I wouldn't be surprised if he got paid like $550 million a year, like some crazy contract that just toppled Hurts and Mahomes. But also, it wouldn't surprise me if he went and was like, hey, like, I want to win. Like, I turn this franchise around. Like, yeah, I deserve the money. I'm not denying like that. Like, I should be paid probably more than Hurts, right?
Right.
Because he's been more consistent. Like, he's done this 2 years in a row. Like, it wasn't a fluke. Like, Burrow came in, got hurt his first year, so it was kind of a scrap. Next year, it takes him to the Super Bowl, right? People kind of had them favorites, and then they start the season slow, but then look what happened. They were right in the AFC Championship game again, right? So, one season to me is a fluke. He's done it 2 years in a row. To me, they got to be a favorite in the AFC now, right? So now he could go to ownership or management and say, hey, I know I deserve this money, but get me Jamar, keep Higgins, put these players around me, go get me someone like obviously not to the same level of someone like a Travis Kelce, but go get me someone, a tight end. You know what I mean? Because that's what matters in this league now. So it'll be interesting. It'll definitely be interesting.
Yeah. I think I got everything off my chest.
Yeah.
How about you, Bray?
Yeah, no, I mean, we talked about the contract, we talked about how it affects, like, a quarterback like Burrow and Justin, who are, like, on the verge of probably getting mega contracts. And then also how it affects someone like Lamar, who, should have a contract right by now, but doesn't, and, kind of how we got to that point.
Right. And, like, one more thing I wanted to mention is, like, I think both of our top 3 quarterbacks right now went 1 Mahomes, 2 Burrow, 3 Jalen, and then kind of a drop-off after that.
Yeah.
So, again, like, those guys are the ones that should be getting paid the most.
Yep.
And then I'm just curious to see how that Jalen Hurts contract affects the other quarterbacks, but obviously me as a Bengals fan, especially Joe Burrow there. So.
Yep, absolutely.
All right,
cool.
Thank you everyone for listening. That's our take on the Jalen Hurts contract and how it's going to affect the rest of the league and quarterbacks throughout the NFL. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, see you. Thank you.